Fellow Falcoholics, what is up? Welcome to episode 193 of the Falcoholic Live. I'm your host, Kevin Knight, at Falcoholic Kevin on Twitter, joined by two co-hosts and a very special guest this evening. He is Brett Jewkes, executive of the Falcons. I believe the official title is the EVP of Sports Entertainment at the AMB family of businesses. Joining us for the second time, Brett Jewkes. Brett, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Good to be with you guys. I had a lot of fun last year and got out of it unscathed, so I'm excited to be back.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you back. I know that we've talked about it before the show. You know, the original red helmet tease was on this program last time you were here. So, and Brett has said there will be more teases. So for those of you trying to read between the lines, you know, Brett's going to oblige you at some point. You're going to have to make sure you tune in for the whole show because we don't know exactly when it's going to drop. But Brett knows the biz. He knows he can't reveal anything too soon. So you guys are going to have to stay tuned for the whole thing. But we're going to have lots of great content lined up for you. We're going to talk about the offseason. We're going to talk about the departure of Matt Ryan and the impact on, you know, obviously everyone involved with the team. We're going to talk about obviously some uniform stuff because Evan's here, you know, our resident uniform expert, and we're going to get to just some thoughts heading into training camp. So full show on tap for you guys tonight. But before we get to that, I want to welcome in my co-hosts. First of all, we have Adnan Nikic at Say Which Way. Adnan, how you doing tonight?
Doing well tonight. Very happy, very excited that Brett is here, and you announced Brett's official title, and his unofficial title is also a friend of the show as well. So
that's for sure.
That's the second. That's the second time you're on. It's officially friend of the show. So we've graduated.
Definitely an FOS. That's
yes, for sure. So yeah, that's official now. Evan, make sure you write that down. as the official stenographer.
Well, I'm also Brett's agent, so I have to,
that's true.
I wear
that's
many
true.
hats here.
Yeah, you know, maybe it's a conflict of interest, but you know, we don't dive into that on here. That's a topic for the conflict
Good thing
of interest.
we don't
pod.
have lawyers.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, no, we don't. We're not big time enough for that. So, as you guys can see, Evan Birchfield with us as well. He's at Evan Birchfield, director of guest personnel, and apparently Brett's agent. Evan, how are we doing tonight?
I'm great. Thankful for Brett giving us some of his time, and yeah, we have a lot of good things, exciting things to talk about. So,
absolutely. So first things first, wanted to get to, we had a pre-show donation come in from Zach Langston with the $5. Thank you so much, Zach. He says, gonna miss the stream tonight, but at least I have something to look forward to tomorrow. Appreciate that, Zach. He says, gotta support you and get you guys to Flowery Branch. Yes, thank you for contributing to the fundraiser, Zach. Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much, and we'll look forward to you hearing this tomorrow when you watch. So everyone else, welcome in. I figure we would start Brett talking about this off season. Obviously a lot of stuff happened, a lot of stuff went on. One of the big things and a good place to start is, you know, Matt Ryan, for the first time since I've been covering the team since 2008, not the quarterback of the Falcons. He ends up getting traded. For someone, you know, that's in the building, what was it like for you, you know, to finally have to say goodbye to Matt as he moved on to the Colts?
Well, listen, that's a good question, and it's a good place to lead off. And you know, I was thinking about this the other day. I've now been working in sports for a little over 25 years, and if I made a list of my 5 favorite people I've worked with, Matt would be in the top 3 for sure. And I don't ever see him moving out of that. Matt's he's a pro's pro. He's just a good person. I never saw him once treat anyone anything but kind and respectful in the building. There were times after games, and we all know, you know, Matt took a beating the last couple of years, and you know what? Tough as nails in the locker room. And he never shied away from going to talk to the media, which is obviously really important for me and my role. But more importantly, it was just, I think he just saw it as a thing to respect and honor the process, regardless of how the game went. So I will miss Matt Ryan forever. You know, the one thing I learned a long time ago working in sports, though, is, you know, you got to fall in love with this, not the players, because they don't last forever, and they move on. And I think we talked about this last year a little bit. So I grew up a 49ers fan, growing up out west, and A lot of people forget that Joe Montana and Ronnie Lott and Jerry Rice, all those guys, three of my favorite players in my youth, did not finish with the 49ers. And it just happens. It's guys move on. And in the case of Matt, I'm really excited for the opportunity that he's going to get. I think he's going to do very well. I think that team is going to be very, very competitive. And so that takes a little sting out of it, knowing that a good person with a family that I adore is going to have a great chance there to hopefully finish it out with a lot of success. And I'm very confident that he will. But the one crazy thing that will always be perplexing to me in my career is the debate in this town about Matt. It just it befuddles me that even would go on. People will appreciate Matt in time. Yeah. They really will. And when you look back at the body of his career, he's an exceptional quarterback, tough as nails. Always represented our team and our city and our owner very, very well. And most importantly, just he's a reflection of his family, his parents and his wife, and they're just really good quality people, the type of people you'd want to be your neighbor or whatever. So I will miss Matt. I'm excited for his opportunity.
And I think we all will. And you just mentioned it also, just the off the field stuff. As great as Matt Ryan was on the field, for him to come in when he did, when the franchise needed him most, and to really stabilize, the entire foundation of the franchise, and to not just stabilize it after after a tumultuous 2007 season, but also to then steer it toward what was essentially the most successful era in franchises, and that's without debate. Like I don't even think that there's a debate that 2008 through now was more successful than any other era in Falcons history. The Falcons have not been a very successful franchise overall. But yeah, definitely, it sucks losing him. It sucks moving on from him, but it's the business of it. If Tom Brady didn't finish out his career with the Patriots, if Peyton Manning didn't finish it out with the Colts, then, that just goes to show the nature of the NFL sometimes. You don't always get that fairy tale ending.
It's extremely rare. Yeah, extremely rare.
You know what? Adnan brought up a good point that if you go back to my top 5 favorite athletes, the point that Adnan made about Matt and what he did coming in as a rookie in the situation the franchise was in. I wasn't here at the time, but I certainly heard enough about it. But one of those other athletes I would put on that list is Dale Jr. I worked in NASCAR for 20 years, and when Dale Jr.'s father was killed in Daytona, basically the weight of the sport went onto his shoulders, and he was a young guy at the time. They're very similar in a couple of ways. Is that I never saw Dale Jr. be unkind or disrespectful to anyone. He shouldered the responsibility. He was a professional all the time. And even under pressure to carry, he went out there and he had success. So just nothing but respect for Matt Ryan, and that will never change.
I met Dale Jr. randomly. I live in Daytona, and I worked at Champ Sports. I'm sure people's heard of that. But randomly, he was there for an event, and he was like in the back room just eating before he had to go out to the event. And I talked to him for a little bit. He was a super nice dude.
I bet he was eating French onion soup. That's his favorite thing.
It was something like soup related. I thought it was maybe like a pasta, but it was probably that.
Really? Yeah, no, that sounds about right. But yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. It's Ryan. Being a quarterback in the NFL is a really tough job, and it's why no matter how talented these guys are coming out, because everyone that's getting drafted in the first round is super talented. Everyone that comes in the NFL is talented. Quarterback is the one that there doesn't seem to be a silver bullet for finding the right one. If there was, everyone would just have their quarterback. But Ryan was absolutely that type of guy. And it's funny to look back, Dave Choate famously, said he wanted Glenn Dorsey over Matt Ryan. And that's sort of been his running joke now, is like, not even Falcons fans were prepared for Ryan to be as good as he was. And, I think people just got spoiled by it. Just sort of this, Ryan was so good for so long. I think Falcons fans have gotten a little too used to what it looks like to have really good quarterback play all the time. And then we get back to that common fallacy of, the grass is always greener. Like the next guy is going to be better. And we've seen firsthand with a lot of things in sports and otherwise, like it's not always greener. And in fact, a lot of times if you get a like franchise best player like Matt Ryan, it's like that guy might never come around again. I mean, look at teams like, the Jets, like they had Namath and they've been looking for the next quarterback ever since Namath. It's not just that easy to turn the page. And, I'm sure we'll talk about the guys they brought in who I think are intriguing and very interesting in their own right, but there's not going to be another Matt Ryan. And I don't think they could have done any better with that selection.
And growing up, I'm 25 years old. I've mostly only known Falcon success in my life, not counting these past 3 or 4 years. But the people that can really tell you just how rare it is for Matt Ryan to come along are some of our older fans who have been around, since the 80s, since the 70s, some even since the 60s, who watched Tommy Nobis and, into the Bartkowski years. This franchise, especially through the 80s and most of the 90s, was really, really bad. Like, I think with Matt Ryan, they had as many or more division titles in that 11-year stretch between 2008 and 2017 as they did in their entire franchise history before Matt Ryan. They had the same number of Super Bowl appearances, similar playoff appearances, but it's just unbelievable how good, how much of a home run the Falcons hit in the 2008 draft before anyone really knew what we really had. And now that he's gone, and in the coming years, like Brett said, we'll see just how special he was, and people really, start to value Matt Ryan a bit more now that he's no longer here. And as we get into this next era, because like you said, Kevin, you never know how long you may have to wait for that next guy. Hopefully, we have it with Desmond Ridder now.
Yeah.
But you just never know. It's just the nature of the beast in the NFL.
Well, I'll give you another one because I think I'm older than all of you guys combined.
I don't know. I'm almost 30 now, so
similar to the Matt thing. I've learned over a long time of being a football fan, left tackles are the same thing.
Yeah.
So, Jake Matthews, I think, is taken for granted a lot.
Absolutely.
And quarterbacks and left tackles don't grow on trees, and you don't hit on them very often, especially, back to back. And so I just, again, people will, like I said at the start, this crazy debate, in hindsight, people are going to be like, well, you know what? When he's getting his gold jacket, which I firmly believe he will, and they start looking at the body of his career, the appreciation will come. Unfortunately, a little bit late for some people, but it is not lost on any of us. And I think he's the only player ever that Arthur has said in the day he left that he'll go in the Ring of Honor. There's already a spot sort of being identified for that.
Yeah.
So,
and Falcons fans will, a lot of Falcons fans will definitely be rooting for Matt this year.
Oh yeah.
The same way.
Yeah.
The same way that Lions fans were rooting for Matthew Stafford last year. You saw throughout the Rams playoff run, it was a lot of Lions fans really beating the drum, rooting for the Rams. And I would love to see Matt Ryan have that ultimate success, even if it's not with the Falcons. Definitely a Falcons fan first. Ideally, you'd love to meet the Colts in the Super Bowl. I don't know how realistic that is, but if the Falcons can't make it, make it to that point, then I'll definitely have that soft spot for Matt Ryan and the Colts this year for sure.
Yeah. For
Absolutely.
sure.
Yep. Yeah, I think he's going to be so good this year. I think he's really getting slept on, as they like to say in fantasy. That it's just, I think he's going to be so good this year with that team, and I think it will sort of reawaken everyone to like, wait, Matt Ryan was always good. Like, it wasn't just 2016. No, he was always good. So.
A great sleeper quarterback in fantasy as well. If you choose to wait on the quarterback, or if you're in two quarterback leagues, definitely someone I'm going to try to prioritize getting on my bench in fantasy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the other next place we can go is that the Falcons did bring in some new quarterbacks to fill Ryan's shoes. The first of which was Marcus Mariota, former first-round pick, number 2 overall pick, and also drafted Desmond Ridder, which was, I think this is the highest quarterback they drafted since, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there for a while, there was no Sean Renfree was, 2013, and he was like a 7th-round pick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not to go back to Matt Ryan, but that's how comfortable they were.
Mm-hmm.
They loved what they had, so there was no reason to really reach on quarterbacks, just keep building talent. But
yeah. What do you think about these new guys, Brett? Have you got a chance to meet them much yet?
Yeah, I've spent a little time with Desmond. Marcus, I have not spent a lot of time with, but I will tell you that through the whole course of, I ask whenever I'm with Coach Smith. I think he's getting tired of me. I ask him a million questions all the time because I'm just interested in perspectives, and so even last year during the season, I would ask him about, his favorite players and who he's worked with and all that. And Marcus Mariota is by all accounts a great person and just a great leader and a great presence and all those things. And Coach, when we signed him and you saw his former teammates in Tennessee and LA posting that the Atlanta was getting a winner and a class act, Coach was not surprised a bit. He goes, he's the best teammate you'll ever have if you play football. And you can already feel that out there in the building, is that he's day one got everybody's respect, and he's working really hard and being a leader, and even the way he's just carrying himself and the little bit of media he's done. He's a mature guy. He's obviously been through some ups and downs. I think he had a good chance to sit out there and, as Coach said, and kind of reset a little bit. And now he's got an opportunity. And we're really fortunate, in my opinion. You have a quarterback who has familiarity with the head coach and vice versa coming out of that transition away from Matt. Because I've seen it. I lived through it a few times with the 49ers, with my college team, et cetera, that a much harder row when you're coming in and no familiarity, different systems, all those things. And so I think that's a good advantage. And then Desmond is, first of all, much bigger than I thought he was. When we had a rookie dinner downtown with all the rookies that we do every year to talk about, being good citizens in the community and giving back. He walked in and I was him and Drake London are big men. They are big men. And 2 days into rookie minicamp, the coaches were raving about his handle on the playbook and the scheme and just how much he had studied. And then a little anecdote I'll share, and I'm sure he'd be okay if I did. But when Allgeier, who I know we're going to talk about for an hour or so, when I went up and talked to him, I guess it was the 3rd day of camp. I said, "How's it going?" And I'm like, "Who you rooming with?" And he was with Desmond and Drake, and can't remember who the 4th was, but he said, "Ritter's got us in the playbook every waking moment," and that really sent a message to Tyler, but also clearly to the other guys in there, is that we're here to work and get into it. And that was kind of the book on Ridder when the guys came back from their visits and whatnot. And you read a lot of this from around the league, is that he won the interviews because he was really well prepared. So listen, this is the game's different. It's faster. We all know that. It comes at you quick. The guys are bigger, faster. The schemes are more complicated. The defenses are definitely more complicated. So you never know how it's going to translate. But if you're sitting here today and you're a Falcons fan, you got a solid veteran who is doing all the right things, and you got a rookie who won, I think, 38 games in college and has impressed people from the first day he walked in the building with his preparation. You could have it a lot worse. That's a pretty good combo, and they're going to get a chance in the preseason to see what they've got, and there we go. So I'm hopeful.
Yeah, and what you said about Ritter's size was interesting because I met him at the Senior Bowl. This is the first time I went down to Mobile, and like he was kind of hunched over on the podium, so I didn't really get a good look. But I had to I didn't get enough time to ask him if he'd talked to the Falcons yet, so I had to chase him down afterwards. And after he got off the podium, I was like, oh my god, this dude's like legit 6'4", 6'3". It's hard to see up on the podium, but I've always been suspicious that the Falcons really liked him because that was, I believe, the first possible day they could have talked to him after that press conference. So I was suspicious. So I was right on that one. I'm wrong about most of them, but at least I had that one.
One of his problems this year is though when you see him out there with the receivers, he actually looks small. Because the receivers are all so big.
It's a change.
Year it was the opposite. Matt would be looking down on the receivers. Even as big as he is, he's looking up. So different. They look different out there.
And Drake London does have that basketball background. He did play some hoops at USC. In Division One, he was teammates with Onyeka Okongwu, who's the promising young Hawks player as well. Yeah. So you have Kyle Pitts, who's 6'6".
Yeah.
A bunch of guys that would make us.
Yeah, Auden Tate's up there too.
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick 6'7".
Yes. Yeah. So can you talk about that at all? There seems like there was really a concerted effort to add size everywhere. Not necessarily just the receiving core, but guys like Jermaine Ifedi, 6'6", 325, 330, all across the roster. It seems like an emphasis has been put on size. Is that I'm sure it's intentional to some degree, but was it really intentional? I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, to be super clear, I'm not on the personnel staff or the scouting staff, but if you've listened to Coach from the day he walked in the building, he likes size. He likes those big-bodied receivers. He likes those big, powerful men that can move the pile one way or the other. And so it's not a surprise that, that's kind of where the personnel groupings are going. And I'll tell you, when you're out there at practice, which hopefully you guys can get out to camp this year, the way Drake London and Kyle Pitts move as big men is way more impressive than their size. The bodies that big should not move as smoothly as they do. Especially Drake. It just pops when you see him. It's just how he moves in and out of his routes is I think he has a real chance to be special, and I'm excited to see it as a fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that was definitely something I noted in my scouting report, which about London and any big receiver, you have to grade on a curve when guys are 6'3" plus. It's a different style of movement. It's a different skill set to be able to cut on a dime as opposed to the 5'8", 5'10" guys. It's different body mechanics. But London's, a lot of people are like, oh well, he's not the greatest separator. He doesn't do London's really good at the subtleties of route running, the little things. And no, he doesn't create miles of separation. But when you're 6'4", he could get a yard of separation.
Separation is vertical, Kevin.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't need 3 yards. He doesn't need a clear window. He can get, a yard of separation and be completely open just because of the way he does
we
it.
saw that last year, Kyle Pitts, he made a ton of catches where it was separation going up and just using his hands and his body. You don't have to burn people and be Randy Moss to be a good receiver.
Absolutely. So,
and also, the Drake London separation criticisms, maybe slightly unfair as well, because look at who was throwing him the ball at USC.
Keaton Slovis slander. I love it.
No offense. No offense. But,
some offense. Just a little bit.
Drake London he put up some numbers at USC, and before his ankle injury last year, he was, I think he may have been leading the FBS in receiving yards. But now in the NFL, with Desmond Ridder, with Marcus Mariota, these are the best quarterbacks he's ever had in his life. So, maybe some of those separation issues were slightly exaggerated. But something that isn't is, he was also very good after the catch as well. Like
Yeah.
and that just adds to that Brett's point about his fluidity and his movement. Like he's someone where you can also, give him the ball, right at the line of scrimmage, and he can go get you a few yards. And he's a very big physical guy. He's very difficult to take down on the first hit. So, I'm excited to see what coach does in putting Drake London in some of those situations, because you have Kyle Pitts, who's the exact same way. He's an absolute monster after the catch.
Yeah.
So the Falcons will definitely have some pieces to work with, and I think that their weapons are upgraded overall this year as opposed to last year. So we'll see what Arthur Smith can do with that. And don't forget, they also brought in Anthony Firkser, another very big, very good receiving tight end who Coach Smith knows from his Tennessee days. So this entire pass catching group is completely replenished, and they'll be incredibly exciting to watch this year.
Well, the thing I'm excited about, again, as a fan, I'm not a personnel guy, but the Brian Edwards trade, and people keep forgetting that CP's back. So there's some big bodies out there that can move people in that offensive weapon thing. So it's a lot to be excited about if you're a Falcons fan. Not that it's my job to promote, so I'm a promoter, but as just a fan, I'm excited to watch these guys because I think the coach is an excellent coach. And I think he's excellent at scheming for what he's got talent-wise. And I think he's got some pieces this year that he can do some creative things with that I think are going to be a problem.
Yeah. I do. I'm very excited to see this new group of weapons, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun at the very least to see these guys go. But yeah, another addition to the weapons is Tyler Allgeier from BYU. I know you've got takes on him, so I'll open the floor for you to deliver your sermon on Tyler Allgeier here.
Lots of takes. I don't know if I got a sermon.
Okay, maybe not quite that far. But.
I think that I mean, listen, I'm a BYU alum. I watched every football play that he played at BYU. I never missed a game. I may have missed one and watched it on tape, but the rest I watched live. And listen, first of all, he's just a great kid. He came from a tough background, walked on as a preferred walk-on. He was telling me a story when he got to Provo that after he checked into his dorm, he went down and got a job at Walmart. He just pushed carts in all day long. That was his job, to help his mom let him get through school. Obviously, he went on and earned a scholarship. But he's a good kid. And you know what? When people ask me, remember last year they had Zach Wilson, who was the second pick in the draft. This year, last year, Jaron Hall, who is getting already early draft buzz, and I think deservedly so if he can stay healthy this year. The MVP of all those teams was Allgeier, if you ask me. He picked up so many, third and fourth downs at extended drives that allowed Zach to, throw for lots and lots of yards. And I love Zach. But, I knew Coach would love him, even before I, started talking him up, is because he never goes down on first contact. He's just a low to the ground runner, and then he's got an incredible burst once he gets, the seam somewhere. But he is just a tough, he'll go get you that dirty yard or two you need. He can catch the ball and go. I saw last night on Twitter, they played Virginia this year at home on a Thursday night game. I think the score ended up being 66-59 or something. It was crazy.
Yeah.
He had 5 touchdowns in that game, and they were all different. There were a couple that were just grinded in from a couple yards out. There were others where he found a hole and he was gone. And listen, the criticism a lot of times with those schools out there is, they don't play anybody. Well, that was against an ACC team that was pretty good last year. I think they finished 8-4. But he did it against everybody, and he led the country in yards after contact for the last 2 years. So I think he's going to be really, you never know again until they lace him up and start playing, and the game speed's different and all those things. But obviously coaches and personnel guys thought he was a good fit for the scheme. And I know his makeup, his coach always talks about his makeup, he is a Coach Smith type guy. Remember, he started as a linebacker. Coach loves versatility. He wants to play on teams because he loves to tackle people. But he's a good young running back that I think is I'm excited to see him get that chance. And I'm hopeful that the Falcons fans will see what I've seen for the last 3 years, which is him making plays that change games, frankly.
Yeah, 23 rushing touchdowns last year, which for the record was more than the quarterback threw. Threw for 20, which is still good. Allgeier ran for 23. So
that doesn't. I bet you can go through all of BYU history, and that never happened another time.
Yeah, I mean that's just an absurd red zone production.
Yeah, he was special. He was a special player for us for the last few years, and interesting to see how they replaced him.
Man. Yeah, and in the year before he only had 150 carries for 1,100 yards, only, but that was at 7.5 yards per carry. Then this year he went up to almost 300 carries, still kept it at 5.8. I mean that's just fantastic. So I'm really excited to see. And the hope, I think, is, that Patterson doesn't have to carry the ball quite as much, can be saved for some of those high leverage downs, can be used more as a receiver because, for a guy that Patterson hasn't been a full-time running back forever. I mean, he certainly has the size to handle it, but I think if you can keep everyone fresh and spread those carries out, I think that'll result in better play for everyone. So,
and with the versatility that, Patterson has, you can have both out there. And then it's like, that's an interesting matchup. Yeah.
That's the size you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we will. I'm pretty sure we'll see Patterson in a lot of, very creative looks and creative sets because Arthur Smith just, is that kind of coach. And Cordarrelle Patterson, I'm sure, and I said after we drafted Tyler Allgeier, this is the move that will really unlock Cordarrelle Patterson's potential in this offense because, now Patterson doesn't have to be tied to that backfield as much as he had to be last season. Now you can move him around anywhere and, he'll be able to thrive everywhere. So that's another thing that we'll really be able to look forward to in this offense because, you're talking about having Mariota or Ritter flanked by the likes of, Patterson, Pitts, London, Edwards, Berkshire. It's going to be some difficult games for some defensive coordinators, especially if everyone is completely on.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I think that the multiple running back sets often cause problems for defenses because it usually forces you into like a base package defense, and we know Cordarrelle Patterson can go line up in the slot and be a wide receiver, so that can definitely give him some favorable matchups. And I know that the coaching staff is probably salivating over some of those opportunities. I know just the theory of it sounds exciting to me, so I'm excited.
Patterson, by the way, is getting ranked in like the 80s and 90s on NFL.com and fantasy. So, I mean, that would be a nice late round find. In draft.
Yeah. I just remember that celebration that day it was announced he was coming back. Like Falcons Twitter was lit.
I mean, nobody was lobbying for it more than Patterson himself.
That is true.
You love to see it. You love to see it when a guy just really wants to come back.
Yeah.
You know what?
Fan favorite.
I think that's a great point, Kevin. And I think that's a tremendous reflection on Coach Smith and on Terry Fontenot and his team. Because you can feel it in the building. It's a good program. You got the right culture being built. They're going about it the right way, building the team, I think, and everybody knows that they're working through the future and all those things that are really important. And, have a player like him who certainly would have had other opportunities wanting to be here was a big signal to the building, to some of the younger guys. It's 100% a reflection of Coach Smith and Terry and the personnel group and the staff. I mean, the whole staff is really good. So,
and the way free agency works now, you don't see players that often. The way contracts keep going up and stuff, where players are like, that open about, hey, I want to be back there. I want to be back there. Even if they want to be back there, they'll play the game of like, we'll see what happens or whatever. Right. He was very vocal about it. So, and you've seen him trying to recruit people, sometimes jokingly, it seems like, but like he goes out of his way. He wants, to be a Falcon probably for the rest of his career, I imagine, at this point. So,
And the thing is that Cordarrelle Patterson isn't, he isn't someone who's made gargantuan money in the NFL. Like, he hasn't made Aaron Donald money and I'm using that as an example because he just signed that massive extension.
And then Cooper Kupp did too. Yeah.
But yeah, like Cordarrelle Patterson, he's had some, modest earnings in the NFL compared to other NFL players, not modest compared to, the regular average Joe. But he's someone who I don't think anyone would have blamed had he gone for the largest payday possible, especially being a 30-year-old, de facto running back at this point, who's really, has that opportunity for that possible one last payday. But no, he went out there and he was lobbying hard right from the end of the season. He wants to be a Falcon. And, I'm pretty sure given the contract he signed for and given how well he played last year, he may have given the team a slight hometown discount as well, just to really emphasize just how much he wants to be here. And yeah, Evan, you're right. He has been recruited. I think he tried to recruit Deebo Samuel at one point. So
a couple others too.
Hey.
That we'll definitely take Deebo in Atlanta. If,
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Yeah. I know Brett's a the lifelong 49ers fan, but I'm sure his loyalties are more with the Falcons at this point.
7 years, I'm all Falcons.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite wins have been those 49er wins. Especially the one out there. It was one of the coolest moments of my tenure here so far.
You mean the one in 2018, where Julio had that last second touchdown?
Yep.
Oh yeah,
that was unbelievable.
Yeah, that was a great game.
The end of that game down on the sideline was unbelievable.
That's amazing.
Because the 49ers were 13-1, and it was like, all right, they're just gonna run through them in this one.
Nope.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. The Falcons always seem to have one of those games. What was it like? They have one of those upset games. I feel like every year, even in the down years.
Remember that Panthers one where the Panthers were undefeated, right?
They've done that to the Saints. I feel like a few years.
They did it to the Saints in 2018, I think, as well. I think they were 2-9.
Yep.
And the Vikings use the Falcons playbook or the Falcons plays to beat them in the playoffs. And the Broncos did the same against the Panthers. So the Falcons have been giving blueprints.
The Falcons figured them out. So gotta love it. All right. Well, Brett, I know you have made it clear you aren't in the personnel department. You're in the more of the marketing side of things. Was the marketing department involved in the acquisition of 2 Georgia players at the end of this draft class?
We have a conspiracy going on.
It's just that one's almost as crazy to me as the Matt Ryan debate thing. I don't know. It's so interesting to watch, especially when you're close to the draft process. Is that, and I'm as a fan, I always dreamed of I want to really know how this works because I was the one that was home from the time I was 5 years old, charting picks by hand. It's so interesting. Those guys set their boards, and their boards are sacred. And you think that just go get the guy. Well, you know what? He's going before. That's the guy they wanted there. That's the guy they wanted there. And it's just how it's fallen over time. And, the 2 that we did get this year, I think are going to be good pieces. And, Fitzpatrick, I can't even believe how big he is.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think Schaefer has a chance to be a good depth piece and see where he grows from there. I mean, it's great to have a couple of dogs on the team. I'd love to have a couple of Georgia Tech players. I'd love to have somebody from Kennesaw State. I mean, Clemson, what you name it, I'd love to have them. But also, there's a few good players out at Montana State and BYU.
Yeah. Shout out to Bozeman. Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's funny is I'll share this about Troy Anderson. Everybody's like, Montana State, what in the world? They don't play anybody, etc. Never forget this. The MVP of the Super Bowl played at Eastern Washington in the Big Sky Conference against Montana State. And a few hours ago, he got $80 million. So when you see Troy, when you see him live for the first time, you see him run on a kickoff, you'll be shocked.
Oh, yeah.
You'll be. A big man should not run that fast. Another good person. We went fishing with the Falcons the other day at Lake Lanier, and he was on our boat. So, and I'm probably the only one in the building that's also been to Dillon, Montana, which I have. Just a good kid. That guy's been working his guts out. Raising cattle and farming, and he's a humble kid. He is super talented. Physically, he's a freak. I think he has a real chance, and I know they were really, really excited about him. And if you really listen to personnel people around the league talk about the combine and what they saw and their reaction to us getting him, if we weren't taking him, somebody else was going to take him in the next couple of weeks. He was not going to get into the third round. So. The good players can come from everywhere. You don't have to be a national champion up the street. You could be a wide receiver from, I don't even know where that is, Cheney, Washington. Where Washington is. They play on a red field.
Right. Yep. That's the memorable thing. Yeah.
And that's where the scouting department, and led by Terry and his team, they got to look everywhere now. There's good players tucked in places that aren't on TV often. I'm the only one that watches every game that starts at 10:15 kickoffs on the East Coast. So, but the scouts are, and they're out there scraping around. So, I think we found some really good players out there.
You got to scout the player, not the helmet, as the old adage goes.
Yep.
And Anderson, I remember Mel Kiper and Todd McShay together just praising how well he was doing at the combine. And this was before, well before the Falcons even took him. So, he's definitely someone who was worth that second round pick. And he is, I think, the most athletic linebacker to ever come through,
he's like that at a lot of positions. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just linebacker. Yeah.
Versatility.
That's how unique he is. Like, he's a 10, I think, at like 4 or 5 different positions on the relative athletic score calculator. So,
and I'm sure Coach Pease is absolutely giddy at the thought of being able to mold Anderson into a great player and being able to plug him into many different positions and many different situations the same way that the Falcons do with Patterson on offense. It was definitely I would say that everyone has praised the Falcons for what they did in the draft. It's been universal. Not just with us and, internally in the fan base, but also external publications have all had nothing but praise for, what the Falcons have done in the draft and overall in free agency as well. I think Fontenot is, he's done a fantastic job. There's a vision there. And, at the very least, you can, some teams don't have that. And, it's nice to know that at the very least there is a plan and, that they're following through with.
Well, I will tell the fans that Terry's still a young guy.
Yeah.
And he is locked in and his group is locked in. And you can see it and feel it every day in the building that they've got one focus. But they also, they're not afraid to churn the roster. And, Terry has been verbal about that. And when he first got here, I like, what does that mean? And, I think we'll probably lead the league in transactions over the course of a year. And you know what? It's you got to have the best players ready to play and
Yeah.
not be afraid to make some changes when you need to. And it's tough on the players for sure, but I'm really impressed with one, how they're locked in. And I think Terry and coach have just built this really good chemistry with each other. Coach is you guys know, he's very clear about what he wants and what he expects. And I think Terry and his team are very good at taking that and processing and finding, good matches. And I think the place they're most aligned on, my opinion, is the makeup of the player, not just the physical skills and not just the measurables, but the mindset, who they are as people, what they've come from, what they, how they compete. And it's exciting. I mean, I work in the building, but I'm also a fan. And that's what you always want, is you want to feel like your coach and GM are on the same page. They got a great plan. They got courage to make big decisions, and they're smart and efficient. And I think to your point on the free agency this year, I'm excited to see what Zoe Carter brings.
Yeah.
They kind of went through the busy news time, and there it was. He's a big dude and looks, really spry out there. He looks really fresh. And then you got these young guys also playing on the edge. That group is just completely transformed. And, hopefully we see the production that they think is going to get. And it just feels good to have anticipation of that. What's going to happen. And again, I just cannot give Terry and coach enough credit and their whole staffs, because you can feel it in the building. So I wasn't that surprised that we got a lot of credit on the draft, because they executed their plan just like they said they were going to, frankly.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, the transactions, I mean, we already have seen it pay off last year with Anthony Rush. Was one guy they brought in mid-season, spent some time on the practice squad, ended up getting elevated, ended up starting 6 games. Now back, looks like a potential starter this year, that probably would have had to been a draft pick or another outside addition. You can find talent in season. It doesn't have to just be after season free agency or the draft or whatever. And Mike Pennell was another guy that came in, played in 10 games that they found mid-season.
Morstead, he ended up being like top 5 punter, and they found him.
So it's, I think that's a good thing. I hate it for the players, because again, it's like there were some guys getting shuffled on and off the roster every week, and that's never fun, obviously, for anyone involved. But I think it resulted in some keepers, some guys that they were able to keep around and that were able to contribute. And you got to be doing that, because you never know how injuries are going to pan out either. You have to have the next man up. And speaking of that, what do you think about the NFL adopting the 16-man practice squad and some of the COVID-related rules?
Well, I'll take the first part second, or the second part first. Is the day they said the protocols are gone was a really happy day for me.
It was tough.
I should say, listen, the league did an amazing job that we didn't lose any games over those seasons. Incredible. And while it didn't feel good all the time, and testing every day for that 7-month period or whatever it was horrible. Especially, I live an hour and 10 minutes from the facility, so going up there every day, even when I didn't need to be there just to test, was brutal. But really hard on the players and the staffs and the families, and having to reinvent how you did business, everything virtual, and not being with the players and building that chemistry and all those things that the really good coaches and personnel guys and strength guys and trainers get to do. Remarkable that we got that first season in, and even I think the second, and now we're in a new time. So, it's different. I think that the practice squad expansion, again, I don't live and breathe in the details of the personnel. So my opinion is, anytime you're going to get the chance to, flex with your roster and get some relief to people, or have somebody that's ready to go, is a good thing. And, in this league, especially adding that 17th game, there is going to be physical, there's going to be injuries, for every team every year. Nobody escapes it, and we know how important depth is. Depth is everything, and I think that's what separates the good from the okay and the okay from the bad. So I think it's been a good thing, and anything that can help you create some depth will always be positive.
Yeah, I agree. I like it a lot. I think it helps keep more players around the team, and I just think that and the veteran changes too. That they're allowing some veterans to sign on the squad as well. Like it guys just need to stay around the league. 'Cause there's a lot of guys that need time. They need to develop. They're not necessarily ready for the 53 right away. And there's a lot of these guys that just get sort of left behind because with the 53-man roster and the smaller practice squads, it's like you don't have a lot of leeway necessarily to keep some of the guys you'd want to develop. And the 60-man practice squad, I think, is a step in the right direction to giving these guys more chances to stick around and actually have some development time. And I know a lot of people are hopeful that, the NFL's sort of partnership with the XFL, and maybe that will be sort of a developmental league. I know they've been trying to get that going it feels like forever, trying to find some sort of minor league that can actually help the NFL. But it would be nice to see, because some of these guys just need a chance. And we see what happens with some people that came from the CFL, from other leagues, briefly with the AAF and some of those leagues having some guys come over. So more opportunities for players to stick, I think, is always a good thing.
Yeah, the one thing I think I said this last year is the worst day of every year is the final cut day. I hate it. I hate even being in the building that day.
Yeah.
Because these kids, man, they're here and they're working so hard. And, it was their dream to even get invited here. And then once they're here, they're like, man, I'd love to stick and play one game.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of finality to that cut day often that is, it's hard. It's hard to see somebody's dream be told, well, your dream's over. And that's just one thing I think is, maybe another benefit of those other leagues is somebody gets another chance.
Yeah, it's also a lot easier to break it to someone that, hey, you didn't make the roster now, but you are invited to the practice squad. And that's where that expanded practice squad really comes into play to really, help some of these young men still chase that dream and, to have that opportunity to, stick around for a little longer, even if it is in the practice squad, which is, still part of the team overall. And, conversely, by far my favorite stories in the NFL are, guys like Jaden Graham a few years ago, Anthony Rush last year, as Kevin mentioned, some of these guys who, maybe they weren't drafted and maybe they weren't expecting to have an extensive career or extensive opportunities, but then they just worked. And, I remember Jaden Graham in particular, he was, I think, the fourth tight end on the roster a few years ago. And there was no expectation really for him to make the team. And, through that work and through those really good performances, for those guys to make that, active 53-man roster, it's special to see. And it's definitely my favorite part of, covering the NFL and, and of watching this sport for sure.
That reminds me of Ricardo Allen, who literally got cut by the team at one point, and then went on, we saw the career he had in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So
one of my favorite Falcons ever is Rico.
Good dude.
He's coaching with the Dolphins, and he'll be a great coach. So
you could tell that he was going to be a coach just from talking. I talked to him like once in the locker room, and I was like, this guy's going to coach after. He's just so knowledgeable. He was able to break stuff down so like easily for anyone to understand. Like he was obviously a vocal leader like as soon as he got there. So yeah.
He has a because he's from Daytona, so I went 2 years ago. He had a like a football camp here, and I went to it, and over the top nice guy.
He's a great guy. Another guy with a great family and an amazing father. Hey, I gotta say, it's been an hour and I haven't gotten one red helmet question.
I know.
I've been
all right, Evan. I was trying to rein him in. Yeah.
My staff was telling me today that they figured it would be in the first 15 minutes. So
I didn't want to like bombard you.
Yeah, go for it, Evan. You have the floor.
Yeah. now I've got all these questions rushing to the front of the line. I find it ironic that they're wearing them against the 49ers, who you've admitted you've been a long time fan growing up and stuff. Is that a coincidence?
Well, I didn't make the decision.
I know. It's just like it's interesting because 49ers have, in my opinion, one of the better uniforms, and I love their tradition that they've basically kept similar ones or whatever. It's going to be a great visual matchup.
It's a good. Listen, you have the old NFC West tie, and that helmet. If you go back and look through the archives, you'll see it against the 49ers a lot. And that's a good spot in the schedule. A few games in, and it sits there. And so I will tell you that content that we released last week is like one of the biggest content moments we've had on digital in my time here. That unveil video, I think, is approaching 3 million views, which the first week of June usually is not a big moment.
We know.
Yeah, no, I got it. But so it's crazy. The fans went crazy. The players love it. AJ loved doing that video. And you know what? It's a great way. I've seen through the data that I've looked at is, our longtime fans love it because it brings back memories of when they were going to games with their younger kids than they now are going with their older kids, whatever it may be. And the young fans love it because it's different and it's cool, and it's AJ referencing already talking about his visor. So it's a unique thing that is kind of connecting the generations of fans, and believe me, it's very hard to do that. And we learn that all the time with no matter what we do. One group loves it, one group, whatever, and one group is like, we are the dumbest people in the history of the world, and all of us should be fired.
Same with our content as well.
Yeah, so it's all part of the challenge and fun. But that's when you find something that brings everybody. Literally, I think there were a couple polls we had out there that it was like 96-4 on every poll. Maybe you guys maybe even done one that was kind of about those numbers. So people are excited about it, and the 49er game will be a good debut for it.
Definitely. And what I love so much about it is I love the gold stripe, and I'm glad, it could have easily been like ignored because there was a time where there wasn't one with the gold stripe, but I just love, like, it doesn't really make sense on paper. Like, there's just a random gold stripe because there's nothing gold on the uniform, but it's such a nice little touch to go along with the gray face mask. Kevin, Adnan, did you have anything?
I'm jumping the gun here, definitely, but is there any conversation, any possibility for a few years from now making the red helmets, something permanent moving forward?
Well, I think there's people that would like that to happen. Lots of fans have expressed that. Lots of fans want the black helmet to be the primary helmet. I think I told you guys last year, the data that we did, both with focus groups and digitally and with our fan council, there's a lot of passion for black and the all black. And I think some of that goes back to even the 98 team. I think you guys probably saw our series on the Rudis team that we did back in the fall with Chris Ram. And people love that era, and they love that black swagger that the uniform had, even though it had the gray pants. And so there's still a lot of passion for the black helmet, particularly with the chrome face mask. It tests well every time we test it. So does red. But I think, what you get back to is, people that are dying for the red helmet, the red jersey, they want white pants. And then the next guy is like, no. Do it with the gray pants, the white jersey or black jersey, and the red helmet. And then the next guy is, no. Keep the black helmet, go red jersey, with gray pants. And you literally can get a 33-33-33 split by whatever combination you put out there.
Yeah. The
good news is with the new rule with multiple helmets, you can mix it up a little bit, and we'll look at it. The one thing that Arthur's really good about is, we got to listen to the fans, and I think the response to this, that we saw last week digitally, and I think the response we will have that week when we play the 49ers and beyond, when we play with it again, it'll be data points that are entered into the mix of how we talk about it and what we do going forward.
And you're seeing also, you mentioned like the reaction from our fans. The NFL at large loves the helmets, and that's how you really know everybody across the board. I mean, it's one of the greatest looks in football. And I'm personally going up there just so I can see it in person. Like that's how much I love the red helmets. But and I know there's fans across Georgia and wherever else, and all the Falcons fans who are excited. It was an exciting moment. The video was perfectly done, literally like a hype video. It made me, excited for October, which we still have a little time. But
Evan came in a full uniform last week.
I was ready to tackle.
I heard,
Yeah. Okay. We also got to know, are we gonna get to see any other uniform combos that we didn't get to see last year? This year, there were a few that were teased in an image that we didn't actually get to see. So
yeah. Well, I'm not on that committee. Coach will decide that with the equipment staff, and we'll have a little bit of input. But that will be coming, and we'll see. I don't know.
That's fair.
That is fair.
Yeah, that's fair. But I'm interested in that white top, red pants look. I think that could be pretty cool. But we didn't get to see it. And somebody in the chat said dump the gradient. No, the gradient looks good. Okay,
I like
the gradient looks good. A lot of teams have tried and failed to execute the gradient, and I think that you guys nailed it. I think that gradient looks awesome.
Here's a good point on the gradient. Now, listen, again, I'm the oldest one. You guys are kind of in the middle, but probably 8 out of 10 kids you see wearing a jersey are wearing the gradient jersey.
Right. I've noticed that.
And that is important. That is important in an era when the younger fan is not as connected to the team as we were when we were kids, because they have 10,000 entertainment choices. And so, there's method to some of this madness that maybe people are like, why are they doing that? Pay attention now as you see kids in uniforms. You'll see that 7 to 8 out of 10 that you see are wearing a gradient jersey. They love them.
Yeah.
Interesting. Last year, our fans, Coach got on a kind of a roll with the white pants, black top, black helmet, and it looked good. It really looked good in the Buffalo game in the snow, and the fans loved it. So, we're paying attention, and we listen to the feedback. I can promise you, though, we don't only listen to Twitter, because it's an
there are other ways to communicate, guys.
I
email them directly. I'm like, so this is what we got.
Oh yeah, don't believe me. I get emails and DMs and whatever else. So
I'm sure the people in the building are also watching the show. So we
of course,
right? Yeah.
But also, just to add to the point of the gradient, not just in football, but the '90s era NBA was full of those gradient uniforms, which worked really well. And I think that era of jerseys, within the sport of basketball, is still looked at, more fondly than any other era. Like, you still have people to this day rocking those '90s, gradient '90s Hawks, Raptors, those jerseys, which were very, creative and sort of in your face a little bit. And I think that just speaks to the staying power to, that design. And if you can really make it work in football, then you may have some gold in that case.
And that color combination is so perfect.
Yeah.
Black, red, and white. Like it
is.
There's so many different things you can do with, like Brett said, with having a black lid with the black jersey and the white pants, and then having all black. And then my favorite one's the black with the all white. I think that's such a clean look. And my favorite thing going from the look we had for several years to what we currently have is on the away jerseys, the flipping of the numbers, because now we have black numbers, and it looks good with the black helmet, as opposed to, it used to be red with a couple years ago or whatever. So looks a lot. Yeah,
it's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the new combinations. I think it's always fun.
We'll announce that right, like we always do, right before the season starts. And you didn't ask the most obvious question, Evan. I'm sort of disappointed about that one.
Is it the red jerseys?
No, it's about your helmets. So
My helmet?
I think a lot of people interpreted debut as a total.
Total number of games. Is that what we're saying? Yeah, because I was wondering, but then I assumed maybe the NFL quietly said, "Oh, you can only use it for one game or something." So that's
just remember this: red helmets are like potato chips.
Yeah, that was another question that I don't know. You can't really answer for the other teams, but I was interested because like Tampa announced they're going to do white helmets, but then they're like, we can't do it till next year. Eagles said we're doing Kelly Green, but we can't do it till next year. Was there something that allowed, and again, you can't answer for their supply chain or whatever, but that was, was this pre-planned for like years in anticipation?
Yeah, no, not exactly. But I think what people do need to understand is obviously there are supply chain issues right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Have nothing to do with the process of Nike, the NFL, and the helmet manufacturer. Is the uniform process is basically a 30-month process when you want to make a major change. And that's, you have inventory that's already out there that's got to be sold through. You've got manufacturing that's got to be lined up. You got marketing that's got to be lined up. You have the design process between the NFL and Nike in the case of the uniform and the team. It just takes a while. And so, where you, like when we did our jersey, whenever that was 2 seasons ago, when we had the first meeting on that the day after the playoff loss in Philly in 18, and there were a little bit of worry we wouldn't get the uniform for the preseason games that year. And we didn't. We ended up getting one set for all of them. And I was like, this is crazy. This takes 30 months. Well, guess what? It took 29 months and 29 days. And we were sweating bullets on it. So I can't speak for the other teams who maybe started their process. I don't know. Or if it was actually supply chain, but I actually like it. I think it's cool that we're going to get kind of a trickle.
Oh, I'm glad. And this has been like the biggest, like all the other teams, they're next year. We're like the first ones that I'm aware of that's this year.
Yeah.
So,
but Brett, were you teasing that we may get the helmets for more than one game?
Red helmets are like potato chips, Adnan. You can't just have one.
Right. You just
there you go.
I'm taking that to
you
the
get
bank.
a
Breaking
taste.
news.
Yeah.
Without
I'm
officially
excited
saying
about that.
Yeah, you guys heard it here first. Breaking news.
Yep. More than one game. More
Just
than one, but not exactly sure what the N is on that, but it's more than one. So
stay tuned for our announcement about all the combos this year.
Yeah,
and I'll leave it at that, and that will happen before the season starts.
Yes, perfect.
I always look forward to that.
Oh yeah, that's a fun one. It's a fun one. Yeah, I guess that just leaves us with sort of we covered I think most of the major changes, additions, and all that. Yeah, I mean, how are you feeling, Brett, as a fan going into training camp? You've been around the team. You've been, Arthur Smith, Terry Fontenot had the chance to sort of get their feet under them going into their second year now. How are you feeling about things going into training camp?
I feel better and more optimistic than I have for a while, and I think that Arthur Blank and Rich and the whole team did a really great job landing these two guys, and they've done a great job of building their staffs and their program and everything else. There's a really good culture out there, and it feels good. It feels positive, and I'm excited about it. I think last year's draft class is going to take a jump too, and I think some of these guys that we pulled out this year and this year's class are going to flash instantly as well. I'm really excited that Grady Jarrett is going to be here for a few more years. I'm really excited that Jake Matthews is extended. Lindstrom's 5th year, amazing. AJ and Casey Hayward is going to be an interesting cornerback combo, and I'm hoping that Isaiah Oliver gets healthy and comes back. And that's a guy I'm cheering for. He was pretty maligned for his first couple of years, and then last year he was playing well when he got hurt.
Yeah.
So I'm really hopeful that. So there's just a lot of things, another one we didn't talk about earlier, but you sometimes take it for granted is the kicker that you believe is going to make the kick. And to have Koo back is great. And then there's just some interesting things. I can't wait for preseason. This punter from Portland State might be the biggest guy on the team.
He's like what, 6'5", 6'6"?
He's like he's like 240.
He's
and he's a big dude. So I just there's things like that always excite me about the preseason. I'm just okay. What are we going to get here?
Yeah.
So I'm excited about it, but I'm really mostly excited and bullish on seeing how Coach and Terry are building the roster and building for the future, and working through the cap and all those things that are happening. That I think there's going to be some Falcons fans that might have stepped foot off the boat in the last year or two that are going to be jumping back on here pretty soon.
Well, just remember who was on the boat.
Yeah.
Oh, believe me.
We were on the boat. We're in June. We're talking about, we had a show like 2 weeks ago that was just like, we were like, what did we even just talk about?
Yeah.
We're just, we live and breathe it.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I think there's a lot of good things to be looking forward to. And, the fans are going to get, hopefully we'll see you guys at training camp, but we'll have more open practices at camp this year than we've had in several years. And we're still going to do the stadium one, but there's going to be more open ones at Flowery. Not ready to announce that yet or the dates, but that's coming. And, Coach, and, we had a practice last week at the stadium.
Yeah.
Which was a great chance. We haven't done that any time I've been here.
Yeah.
A spring practice. And again, I just give credit to Coach and Terry. They understand that the fans are really important, and they want a connection with the city, and they want to build hope. And I also think it's just productive to get those new players. I mean, we have so many new players on the roster, not just the rookies. More familiarity in the building. They want to win more inside our stadium, which we need to do. So the fact that we got them down there and they got to go through the locker room and run on the field and do a practice and get familiar with the environment, then we'll do that again during fall camp. And that's important when your home opener is one of your biggest games on the whole schedule. And so I think they're just doing a lot of good, smart things, and it just feels really good.
And Brett, I wanted to ask about that. When it was revealed that the first week was against the Saints, is that something that kind of gives a little bit of a boost to the marketing department? Because it's the Saints, and now Hate Week has turned into Hate 3 months. Leading up to the game.
Do you want credit for that? Because we were using that quote from day one.
Oh, I have no idea. I'm not one to plagiarize, but
no. I'm teasing you. You're 100% right. It was like, this particularly, I think this year we couldn't have got a better opener. And this is a little bit of tapping into my old NASCAR history, but the Daytona 500 sets the tone for everything. The rating, the attendance, everything, and you go from there. And so, we know the fans are going to be amped up. What else do you want week one? We know our players are going to be really excited and juiced up. What else do you want from that?
Yeah.
The media attention will be significant. Great. Love it. Bring more and bring it all.
Yeah.
And if you can go out there and compete and play well and get a win, that's a good springboard in going out to play the world champions out in LA. So, it's perfect. And, it doesn't mean that we would have booed if it was somebody else, but we were very happy to see them week one.
If it was up to you, would week one always be against the Saints at home particularly?
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't say that, because you don't want it to get old. It's almost like when people were saying, oh, we should play, the Falcons Saints should be the Thanksgiving night game every year when we played them back-to-back years. I was a no vote, mostly because I wanted to be home for Thanksgiving on a few times. But,
right.
Yeah.
But also, I just think if you get into a pattern like that, it works in college football. In the NFL, I like it changed up a little bit.
Mhm.
I do like playing them early and late, as opposed to in weeks 16 and 17 or 16 and 18,
Yeah.
whatever it is, which we've done a few times. And but I I don't know that I would want it first every year, particularly as the roster gets built and we get back to contender status. There's nothing wrong with having a tune-up at home as opposed to your arch rival.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And not just the first matchup, but the second matchup against the Saints. And I know this is very far down the line. That's coming right after a bye week. So I'm pretty sure that's another opportunity for the Falcons where the bye week normally going into it, there's not too much excitement, but now I'm pretty sure there's going to be a couple of full weeks of excitement following that, I think, week 14 matchup, and then going into that Saints game.
Yeah, this is the latest bye we've had in my time here.
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
I don't really know how to think about it. It's going to be weird to not have a bye till the second week of December.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
It's-
could have one that late technically before.
I think they changed.
Yeah.
Well, because of the 17th game, I think you can have it that late.
Yeah, this
now,
is
but-
as late as possible now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's that that being selfish for 1 second. I've always used the October-November bye week as a golf trip with my brothers, and
Yeah.
we won't be golfing in December in Utah. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it's a little cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little cold. Maybe you could do some other stuff. You get hit. Maybe the slopes will be open. I don't know if you ski. I don't know if the slopes might be open in December.
I did
probably not.
before my knee. It was,
Yeah. It's
rebuilt.
brutal on the knees. It's brutal.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I don't have any collagen.
Yeah, I could see how that would probably lessen the experience. Yeah, a lot of fun. Well, yeah, just save me a spot in the media tent because I'm planning to be there for however many training camp days there are this year. We'll see if I can get down for all of it, but it was a lot of fun last year. Yeah,
I don't think I'll be with the media. I think I'll just be on the hill.
Adnan's a
And
man
I'll-
of the people. We know this.
And I'm coming in for the red helmets, but apparently there's going to be multiple days,
Yeah.
so I got to book multiple tickets now. So
Your obligation,
chips,
so,
man.
Yeah.
Do I? Potato chips, yeah.
Evan's never, come down or up here to Atlanta just to see us, but he will for the Red Helmets.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Doesn't
he makes a
surprise.
special trip for that.
yeah. I've been waiting. I got to come out of my cave now because the red helmets are free. So
Yep. I mean, that was what you were waiting for. It's happening.
Mhm.
So you
Yeah.
gotta be ready to go. You have to answer
So
the call.
Evan,
Yeah.
if they go permanent, are you going to just move here?
He has to. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I
yeah.
mean, do you need somebody to clean the helmets? Because I'll work for free.
He just likes the helmet so much. Like it's
I'll
Yeah.
tell Boigner that there's some free labor out there. I'm sure
Right.
he wants to.
No, I'll even pay him if I have to.
just to be able to caress it,
Yeah. Yeah, I'll get them ready.
Yeah. Get them all
Yeah,
polished
yeah,
up.
it'll be like the movie Rudy with the gold helmet.
Yeah.
No, really, that's basically how it is for me.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah. Big time.
Well, I'm happy you're happy.
thank you. I am very appreciative.
Yeah.
You and a
All
lot of
right.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very exciting. Yeah.
I'm just glad to see I know I'm addicted, but just seeing the fan reaction when that was announced, and a lot of us knew it was coming eventually, but it didn't really sink in. That video was amazing with Terrell just taking it out, and yeah, excellent.
It was a cool video. I enjoyed
Mhm.
it. Yeah. Yeah, guys. Any further questions for Brett? We're well over an hour now, so.
Are you for or against the Jazz keeping both Gobert and Mitchell?
Oh wow, I wasn't prepared for that one.
Yeah, that's a hard hitter right there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
listen, we got to see what's going to happen with the coaching situation and what they want to do. But I tell you what, I am for is we've got to win playoff series. It's frustrating to be top 1, 2, or 3 seed repeatedly and then go out in the first round. I would almost rather miss the playoffs than that. Not really, but it's frustrating. And got a lot of talent, and I want to see what the coach and the free agency situation looks like. I love them both, I just don't know how it all works with all the other pieces, and they definitely need another piece, a specific piece. I'm not even sure what that is, but we'll see. I have it's so funny. I see all these fantasy tweets of Hawks fans of how they're going to build a roster around two of those guys plus their guy or one of their guys.
You can call me out. You can call me out on that.
There's a lot of you out there. I got to be careful to not get myself in trouble, but somebody in the backcourt's got to play defense, and that's we're seeing that in the finals. That you've got to have at least one of those guys back there that is almost a shutdown guy. And some of the things I keep seeing floating out there, like, I don't know who's going to guard anybody out there. On the flip side, you got a post guy that can get exposed with the right, small lineups, and that's tough. So it'll be interesting to see. I think being an NBA GM in some ways is so limited amount of draft capital and bodies you can add that you have to be exactly right. And we have no draft capital. We've traded it all away. So you got to find the right free agent that wants to go to a small market and play in a combo you don't really know. They got a tough job, but remember, Danny Ainge built these Celtics, and I'm having great faith that he'll get us somewhere the right place.
I know my words mean nothing, but I legitimately think the Jazz would have won a couple years ago had Mitchell not gotten hurt in the second round. Which, I think it's very unlucky, but that's just the nature of sports. And, it's just a what if at this point.
Well, and I thought you were going somewhere when they were in the bubble and Bogdanovich broke his wrist.
Yeah, there was that one too.
That team they were dialed in at the end of the year, and they had that crazy battle with Denver with Mitchell and
Murray.
Just going off on each other. I think that was the most locked in team. The next year was more talented, probably, and a little more experienced, but you're right. 2 injuries to 2 guys, and then even last year, Connolly, who was playing well, but he couldn't even move in the playoffs, and we got exposed. So
it's
this year I don't even want to talk about.
Yeah, it's the type of thing that can really close a window sometimes, especially in a sport like that. But
right.
It's a difficult situation. It's difficult in the NBA for more than like 3 or 4 teams to really compete. But that Utah team was definitely really entertaining. I really loved watching Quinn Snyder work, and it's a shame that he's not there anymore either.
I think he'll be in San Antonio next year.
Yep.
I think that's where he's going. So.
Yeah, well, Adnan's the basketball Twitter GM, and I'm the football Twitter GM that Arthur Smith was talking about. So it's too much fun. I'm sorry, it's just too fun to be the Twitter GM. There's no consequences for us. We can make whatever outlandish claims we want.
It's just armchair. It's just armchair. Analysis, and we're not losing our jobs over this.
That's what I was saying earlier, which is so funny. Is like. The Twitter GMs believe that there are 31 willing trade partners for everything.
Always. Yes.
And that's really not true.
Yeah. Yeah. And I the other thing I think people probably need to understand is that teams talk to a lot more free agents than end up actually signing. Everyone's like, oh, why haven't they talked to X and Y and Z or whatever? It's like, well, they probably did, but they didn't want to come here, or they're waiting for something. Like, we hear like the iceberg, picture. It's like the news we hear is this part above the water, and everything else is what's below the water. So
that's 98% true, and the other 2% is that the agents are creating the news.
Yes. So it's all fake anyway,
No,
just kidding.
Some of it is a little bit of gamesmanship out there for sure.
Yeah, you got to respect it.
It's the same. I remember every draft, everyone's like, "Oh, why didn't the Falcons trade down?" But I mean, maybe nobody wanted to trade up.
Right.
No,
it's like you're getting mad at the team for not making a trade that may not have been there in the first place.
It's my fault for doing so many trades and mock drafts. I should
Yeah.
stop. Yeah.
Well, that PFF mock draft machine this year. Just, I mean,
It's too much fun. Like I can't help myself. You know.
it is fun, but it's so.
Oh,
now go back and
ridiculous.
look how the draft shook out.
Mhm.
Yep.
There are guys you're taking in the first or second round that went in the fifth or sixth round, and some that didn't get drafted.
Yeah.
So it's but you know what? This is what's great about the NFL. The fan engagement lasts all year long. It keeps us interested. I mean, I work for the team, but I am still a fan, and I love these constant news cycles of stuff that's going on with player movement, trades, coach movement, schedule, draft. It's all, you know what? And in this world where there's a lot to be depressed about and concerned about right now, this is a gift. This stuff that we debate on Twitter or on a show like this, you know what? It's a great break from some of the heavy stuff we're dealing with in the world right now. So I'm just always grateful for it. And I try to remind my team as often as possible. It's like, this is where you can have a lot of fun. It's work, but you can have a lot of fun, and it definitely is a distraction from a lot of noise out there.
That's what we always talk about is like, you know, we love, like, I don't know what I'd be doing if the Falcons didn't exist. Like, it's just like been my life forever, you know, since I was 6 years old. So it's just like something that constantly evolves and stuff like that. You know, for me, Kevin and Adnan, like eventually turning into where we cover the team, write about the team. And it's just been, you know, it's something we always, you know, brought us all together. If we weren't, you know, Falcons fans, we wouldn't know each other. We're all scattered around, you know?
Yeah. And
cool.
it's great. You know, I mean, I went from writing just little comments to writing articles, and, you know, now this is what I do. So it's been fun to, it's been, what I really appreciate about Dave and the Falcoholic is that it hasn't stopped being fun as the volume of labor has increased. So just,
and now we have great people
that.
like Brett Jukes on here. Like, I mean,
You
know.
Well, listen, what you guys do is I'm a fan. I don't say that, and I'm not only here because Evan asked me to.
You mean begged?
I follow every day, and you know, listen, this is one of the things that's really a great thing about Mr. Blank is that he values the media more than anybody I've ever worked for, because he said he's right. It's a conduit to the fans, and without the fans, this is just, as he always says, 22 guys playing sandlot football. So without the fans, there is nothing for us to do, and you guys are an important part of that. And that's why I love it when you guys can get up to camp or get to a game. And, you know, what I'd really love is when you guys are here for camp or whatever, I'd love to break bread with you. So,
I'll hit you up for sure. Yeah. I mean, my current plans is, if everything goes to plan, is that I will try to be there for every single camp day. And I know Adnan will be there some days as well. And maybe we can guilt Evan into coming up, even if there aren't red helmets.
Are they wearing the red helmets?
Maybe you can get some red helmets at practice.
I'm definitely going for the red helmet games. So we'll break bread for sure then. But we'll see about training camp.
Preseason game, maybe we'll break out the purple helmet. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get the purple helmet.
News?
Okay. Write that
More
down.
breaking news. Hold on.
No.
Evan tweeted out.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if Evan is still with us.
Yes. Okay. Evan's awake. Still. Yeah.
No, I'm here.
And Brett, I'm gonna spare you a question about the Angels. Maybe if we did the show 2 weeks ago, that would have been more fun.
2 weeks ago, I was really excited.
Yeah.
Now I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, there's enough, you know, sport. I don't know anything about baseball, so
it's only June. There's plenty of time. There's plenty of time to write this shit.
Yeah.
I hope you're right.
Seems like the Braves are riding the ship, so it should be possible, right?
No, they did it last year too.
Yeah.
So. They got championship DNA built in. That's a difference maker. So we'll
yeah, that might help a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, we got one tip that I was going to read. Anything else you guys wanted to get in for Brett before we sign off?
I mean, there's some
on.
Yeah.
There's a bunch
we'll still do
more
the
we could
outro.
ask,
Yeah,
we don't want to keep them too long.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's been like 90 minutes. That
Yeah.
bless
Yeah,
you, Brett.
it's been so long, and we want to be respectful of Brett's time, but yeah, I mean, we could literally go for hours and hours.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll do it again.
Yeah.
Sounds
We'll
good.
we'll spread out the content. It's very smart. It's
It
very
was,
clever.
I'll
Yeah.
say it was interesting, because last year we had you on in a unique time. I think it was right before the draft, and you kind of knew, Terry and Arthur, like, fairly well, but I'd say it's fair to say you've gotten to know them a lot better.
Oh,
So
yeah.
to hear you how you've saw them this past year and stuff like that was very interesting.
Yeah, no, listen, that's one of the things that's great about them is you're right. At the time, I'd seen them maybe for 3 months.
Yeah, I think it was like a week or two before the draft.
Yeah, but now I've seen them go through 2 drafts, 2 free
Mhm.
agencies, a season, the off-season program. And what's remarkable about both of them, I think, is they're very consistent, but they're both learners. They don't, if they saw something that didn't work, they adjust. They're not dogmatic. And I think if you listen to Coach, you can hear that many times is if something didn't work, he has no problem changing and going on. And that's, I think, is what's going to end up making these guys special is that they're willing to adjust and learn, but they're very consistent in their patterns and they're very consistent in what they value. And I couldn't be more bullish about it. I just, trying not to have too much hyperbole on that, but I'm really excited as a Falcons fan, but as also someone that is got to do a job related to this team. I'm really excited. There's a lot of reasons for the fans to be excited, and future's bright.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's easy to sort of be down on the team right now, and I mean, none of us at the Falcoholic are really predicting, like a 10+ win playoff season or anything. But there's a lot of reasons to be long-term positive. And what you said, like doing the right process doesn't always result in instant wins. Like that's not always the right process. Trying to maximize wins every single year, like. There's a long-term vision that I think we're really starting to see now in the second year. And I think if you do the right process, more times than not, you're going to have the right result. It doesn't always happen. It's a great adage for fantasy football, too. You can start all the right players and you could lose the week. Doesn't mean that you had a bad process. It's just the nature of the beast. Like, it happens. But I think that we're seeing that these guys do have a good process, and I'm excited to see the plan come together over the future years as well as this season. And I think this is going to be by far the most exciting preseason we've seen in, a long time. Because no offense to any of the previous quarterbacks, I love watching Kurt Benkert in particular in the preseason, but like having 2 new quarterbacks to watch in the preseason that fans have never seen in a Falcons uniform before, it's going to be some terrific content. So I'm looking forward to that in particular for our preseason play-by-plays to get some.
This could literally be the most competitive like preseason we've seen in a long time, just because across the board there's like battles going on.
Yep. Well, and I think if you guys heard Coach's interview, I don't know, it was a couple of weeks ago with 92.9. And he talked about he's going to adjust his approach to the preseason. And you're going to see guys out there a little bit more. And that'll be fun. That'll be fun to watch and see. And, every rep those guys get, they get better. That's one of the things that I think about. And again, I'm sometimes I harken back to my time when I was a 49ers fan 20, 25 years ago. They threw young guys out there early, and every rep made them better. And it was one of the things that Bill Walsh loved. He had a lot of great veterans, but how many rookies they started in the Super Bowl and even 81, and they just got better and better and better because of it. And I think you're going to see some guys that were in the draft last year ago, that they got a lot of reps last year, and some of them were learning experiences, were hard learning experiences. They're going to be better. And the coaches now have more relationship with them, more time, more, face-to-face, less protocols. That's what's been really cool about seeing this up here this spring is they're with the players. It's not virtual, all the time. So I think you're going to see some of those younger guys take a leap and be getting more reps in, starter-type players, first and second-year guys in preseason. They'll be more ready to go when we have the Saints roll it out there on 9/11.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, looking forward to some more good stuff from Richie Grant, who comes from my school, UCF. So charge on. Big fan of Richie Grant. I think that he is gonna have the year that I think a lot of people were hoping for last year. A lot to ask for any rookie to do that, but I'm excited about him. I know Taquan Graham had a really strong finish. Ogundeji is another guy that I think is very someone to watch, certainly. So you could tell a lot of those picks last year were future focused, and I think a lot of people just always expect rookies to hit the ground running. But I think year 2 and 3 is a lot of time when you see these guys actually look like what they were sort of drafted to be. So
I'm excited to see Avery Williams.
Running back.
He literally was like
PFF's
top kicker punt return. I can't remember which one, but now switching to running back. I mean, interesting player.
It's funny. He's who I ate dinner with 2 nights ago at the fishing. Falcons. And I asked him point blank. I said, "What's different for you this year?" And he goes, "Everything." He goes, "Just the way I see the game. I understand the speed." He goes, I am so much faster this year because." And I said, "Well, you had a position switch." And he goes, "Yeah, I know, but it's not all new to me. It's not all coming new."
He played running back before in high school, I think.
Yeah. Well, he went to Boise as a running back, and he switched
that's right.
corner.
Yeah.
So.
And people don't realize just how fast the NFL game is to these rookies. Just taking that adjustment from, playing some very good players, in the college level to now you're playing the best of the best in the world at this sport. And, that second, third year, that's when the game really starts to slow down. And that's when you really see some of that progress being made.
Yeah.
That right there, I don't want to put too much pressure on the kid, but I think that's one reason right there why I get excited about when you hear how Desmond Ridder is studying and how much he gets it quick. People are like, wow, he won the interview process. Everybody in the league said that because he's prepared. And there will be other quarterbacks that go in there and they struggle with the complexity of the playbook and other things. And so I think it's good.
Yeah. That was what I heard about Ridder at every step of the process, that he was, going to Jordan Palmer every offseason. I think he's worked with the quarterback guru, Jordan Palmer, like 3 years now. And Palmer was like, this dude, he cares about the little things about his mechanics that a lot of veterans don't even think about until they're like 3, 4, 5 years in the league. Like, he cares about that stuff. His attention to detail, I think he said, was like the best he's ever seen. And you can tell by, just by talking to him. It's so detail-oriented, real quick study. So I think that we're going to have an impressive quarterback group this year. I think that obviously getting Ridder in the 3rd round, I think, is a total steal. And I'm really excited to see how it shakes out. And Mariota is going to be a good player too, so I'm not expecting Ridder to like win the job in camp or anything, but there will be a competition. I know that these guys are serious when they say that, pretty much every spot's up for grabs. And, you wonder if Ridder ever gets on the field, if he this year, maybe he will, maybe he won't. But I'm just excited to see, because I think both of those guys are real intriguing players.
Well, you got to have more than one guy at every position. So
yeah.
And especially that one. So it's good.
Oh, yeah. Exciting stuff there. Yeah. Okay. I'll read our question for Brandon real quick. Thank you, Brandon. I know he was testing out the donation software that was having some problems, so thank you for that, Brandon. But he's asking about undrafted free agent linebacker, edge rusher, Kwoni Dang. What do we think about him, and will he make the final roster? Well, it's going to be tough, I think, for him to make the final roster. I mean, we haven't seen him in training camp, so it's hard for me to predict an undrafted guy like making that kind of rise without seeing him on the practice field. But he was a guy I know coming out that was touted as like he could play any linebacker position, including edge. That was sort of his thing. He's huge. He was a good athlete. I know he had some injury stuff. So he's certainly a very intriguing guy. Somebody that I think is someone to watch. I don't know if his like future in the NFL is more at edge or like more of like a hybrid linebacker player. But I think predicting him to make the final roster right off the bat, probably a little aggressive for me. But I think practice squad certainly within the realm of possibility. And, there's always the chance that some undrafted guy is going to really impress and make the roster. It happens every year. I'm a big fan of Seth Vernon, by the way. That's my pick, Brett, as the punter. So that dude, he reminds me of Marquette King, just like a huge punter, the great leg. That's just a really good special teams player in general. Like, even if he wasn't the punter, you'd probably put him out there on teams just because he's so athletic. So,
well, the first day I saw him out there, and I didn't know who he was really, but first day I saw him out there, I thought there was a position player just messing around with the specialist. I was like, that's a big dude, nigga. That's the punter from Portland State. I mean, he's starkly big.
Yeah.
It's not just the position players that are huge for the Falcons. It's the special
even the punter. Yeah, Younghoe Koo, we need you to bulk up, buddy.
Yeah. Even then, I believe it's Dom Maggio, the other punter. He's like 6'3" or something.
Yeah,
if
he's
I
not
remember correctly. Like, he's big too.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying earlier. Is like, this team is bigger. So
right.
When you have Ritter at 6'3" or whatever he is, and he's looking up at the receivers, that wasn't the case last year. And the same thing is like the tight ends are huge. That's a very big tight end room. I don't know. They're going to look different. I think that's what when we tee it up against the Lions on TV, I think people are going to be about that team is just physically different.
Yeah.
And then you see where coach. Again, I think coaches and his staff are going to be very creative. And I don't know who made the point earlier. Adnan it's going to be hard to prepare for, particularly in the early couple of weeks, because coach got a year under his belt, which probably means he has a few more tricks and confidence in some things, and now he's got some different tools. And remember, mobile quarterbacks open up different things too. So it's going to be interesting for me to see, what we come up with, but it will be different, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. Last year was Arthur Smith's rookie year as well. It was his first year ever being a head coach. So, that comes with its own challenges and adjustments that he's had to make. And, it's going to be an improvement for him as well, just like it is for a sophomore going into his second year as opposed to his rookie year.
For sure.
Yeah. I'm real excited to watch it. I know it's going to be, there's a lot more wrinkles this year because it's like the receiver group is almost completely different. We have a couple guys like Zacchaeus is back, and we got Frank Darby still here, but that group is different. We got Kyle Pitts in there. We got Cordarrelle Patterson, but otherwise it's going to look, I think, a lot different. There's going to be a lot of different players, a lot of different size, speed combinations. And it's real exciting. That's why I'm really looking forward to the preseason. Obviously, we're not going to see like the depth and breadth of the playbook in the preseason, but we're going to see some flashes of what it can be, and that's going to be a nice first look at the new look Falcons. And look, I mean, the difference between the first year of a regime coming in and the second is big. Like, there's only so much you can do in one season in terms of personnel, in terms of everything. So I think this year was the year we're going to really start to see the fingerprints of Fontenot and Arthur Smith and their influence start to take over more of the team. And I'm hopeful that we'll get to see glimpses of the future plan and give fans a lot of confidence going forward. Because I think that's what this season is about, is it's going to be future focused, but let's also build confidence. And there's more ways to build confidence than just winning 10 games. You look at a team like the Lions, they didn't win a lot of games last year, but everyone's high on the Lions going into this season. They're like, oh, they were so competitive. They outplayed. And, in a lot of ways that was kind of the Falcons last year, but the inverse. They won a lot of games. They won, a good amount of games. But again, it was the competitiveness thing. So I wonder if the Falcons will be sort of that team this year that, because of the schedule, because of all, this and that, maybe they don't win a ton of games, but they're that sort of scrappy, fun, really competitive team that everyone actually enjoys watching, and everyone's feeling better about going into next season.
Coach has been very clear. We're going out there to compete, and I think every team we play is going to feel like they were in a game one way or another. And and you know what? Listen, you have a lot of guys. These free agent guys are on prove-it deals, and don't underestimate that chip on the shoulder sometimes. With infusion of a lot of really good young talent and the retention of your best stars, your stalwarts like Grady and Jake and others. This is going to be fun. I just keep saying that, and it's again my job to promote the team, so I'm promoting the team. But I feel that way. I just feel a really cool energy about what we're about to see. So
I think I also speak for literally everyone when I say the fact that the red helmets are back. We're already 17-0. Like doesn't even matter. Season doesn't even matter. Just
the
the red helmets.
72 Dolphins need to get nervous. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're already going to look better than everybody. So
yeah. Look, you win. You win if you look good, you feel good, you play good. Okay,
right.
That's
right.
how you go. That's how this works. So, yeah. Well, Brett, really appreciate you taking just an enormous amount of time out of your evening to come here.
Yeah, definitely.
And chat about the team at large and the uniforms and everything. Always a lot of fun. Like you said, we definitely got to get you on here as often as you're willing, and so that way we don't have to like get you on for 90 to 120 minutes every time.
See, it's been a year. This is what happens when a year. We got to break it down a little closer. But
yeah,
so you know how to get in touch with me.
Yeah.
So
I'll just talk to Evan. Yeah.
I just spam email over and over and over. I'm like, Brett, please.
Listen, I appreciate it, guys, and really, truthfully, appreciate what you guys do for the fans, and I enjoy your analysis, and anytime we can help, we're happy to help. So, look forward to seeing you at training camp, and Evan, we'll see you in October, and perhaps a date a little bit
maybe
later.
Other days, yeah.
Maybe undisclosed dates.
Undisclosed days.
We'll work that out. Well, off camera, we'll work that out. So.
Well, I mean, somebody's got to clean the helmets, so I mean, I might be there earlier. I don't know.
Yeah,
could be.
Yeah,
we're working that too.
Yeah, it's like Evan calls. Oh, it's 5 a.m. The door is absolutely 10 minutes later. Oh, I found a way in.
Yeah, don't worry.
That's
Somebody's
fine.
there at 5. Don't
I'm
worry
in the
about
equipment room. Don't worry about me. I'm fine.
Yeah, Evan's just going up there with the key card to something else. Like, why is it not working?
Yeah.
You gotta watch Evan. You gotta watch him. Yeah.
Yeah. When the helmets are in question, Evan gets in even without a key card.
Right.
Yep. All right. Well.
All right, guys.
Like I said, really appreciate your time, Brett. He is at B Jewkes on Twitter. Brett Jewkes. Brett, anything else before we let you go?
Well, just again, appreciate you guys, appreciate the fans, and I think there's a lot to be excited about. And stay on the boat, because the boat's going to the promised land here, and I feel really confident about that. And we got a great coach, we got a great GM, we have a great owner that's going to keep investing, and it's going to be a fun ride. So
yeah. We are the boat, so we can't go anywhere.
So I'm talking to the viewers as well.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. We're contractually obligated to stay, but
yeah.
we'd stay anyway. But it just helps,
right?
The contract helps too. But yeah, guys. Also with us tonight, we have Evan Birchfield, Director of Guest Personnel at Evan Birchfield on the Twitters. Evan, anything else you'd like to plug before we sign off?
No, just thankful for Brett to give us basically 2 hours. Might be our longest show, not counting draft stuff. So yeah, just excited for red helmets. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's a good off season for me.
Yeah, big excite for Evan over here.
Yeah,
about the red helmets. Yeah. Also with us, Adnan Ikic at Say Which Way. Adnan, anything you'd like to plug?
Just the site as a whole. That reminds me, I need to contribute to the roundtable that's going tomorrow.
Yep.
Completely forgot all about it until right now.
Good time. Good time to remember. Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely check out the Falcoholic for all of your needs and wants as we, continue to tread toward training camp. And yeah, big thanks to Brett for joining us for a couple of hours tonight, and for really giving us his time, and for, really being generous with it, and for answering all of our questions.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been fantastic. Yeah. All right, guys. I'm Kevin Knight at Falcoholic Kevin on the Twitters. Just reminding you guys to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. For those of you on the podcast feed, you can catch these shows live on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on the YouTubes. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Falcoholic Live, all that good stuff. And of course, like these guys said, check out the site as well. Yeah, folks, really appreciate everyone for tuning in with us tonight in the depths of the off season. But like we said, training camp not too far away, roughly roughly 2 months, a little bit less. 2 months from now it'll be training camp, so it's a little bit less than that. If my math based on the first preseason game is correct. But yeah, guys, really appreciate it. We'll talk to you next time on the show. Have a great night, folks. Thanks for tuning into the Falcoholic Live. We'll see you next time, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, folks.